Hi, this is Rain.
And this is Ravenwind, and you're listening to the Feather and Bone podcast. Two witches talking about everything witchy and nothing at all.
I just gave her a haircut, and she's feeling so fabulous and bougie right now.
I am. It's so fluffy.
She was in the bathroom using my diffuser going, "It's so fluffy!"
Because I have naturally curly hair, and with curly hair, the shorter you cut it, the curlier it is, and the bigger it is.
Yeah.
And it's been, I'd say it was coming like just below my shoulder, like just right at my shoulder blades when you cut it.
In the back, it was about to your bra strap.
Okay, yeah. So it was pretty long.
I cut a good 4 inches off all over your head.
Yeah, so I'm liking it.
She's feeling so fabulous.
So fluffy. When I move my head, like I can feel
like the bounce.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway. This is going to be the third and final part of our 3-part series, Shit Christianity Stole.
I thought you were going to say our 3-part series shit. I'm like, yeah. I've forgotten what we were talking about.
You're like, I'm distracted by the movement of your hair.
It's so fabulous.
Anyway. Of course, part 1, we talked about Jesus. Part 2 was holidays.
Yeah.
And now we're doing practices and, customs and things that they use in their worship that is used in pagan worship.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the 3 series, of the 3-part, this one was the hardest to research. And I don't know why. It was like, maybe I was tired. I don't know.
I just think it's kind of, you said customs, right?
Well, practices, customs, items that they may use that, are the same as what we use. And
that was harder to research because you even asked me and I'm like, Christians don't really have that many customs except to make other people feel like shit.
Yeah. Well, and I think that because I think that you and I were both on the same wavelength of like customs of like things that you do every single time or, but then as I kind of started thinking a little outside the box, I was able to find some stuff. The sources on the not as many as the last podcast. Okay.
Thank God.
And I actually used Wikipedia. Wikipedia.
Wow.
Now, you should never use Wikipedia if you're doing like research for a paper for school or, whatever, but just for the podcast and get some general information, I used it. And then I used a website, faculty.gordon.edu, otherworldoracle.com, weirdsmith.com, classroom.cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Is it cinnamon? What is it? Synonym? Wow. She can't even talk. Her face is red. She's covered. She can't. She's got the paper over her face.
Cinnamon.
Are you crying yet?
A little bit. I'm trying not to. .com.
When did my dog get on your lap?
She was in the seat when I sat down, and I picked her up and just kept her.
You just relocated her.
Yeah. I just picked her up, and put her on my lap, which is preferable to be sitting on her. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is fire and candles. In paganism, the candle is frequently used on the altar to represent the presence of the god and goddess, and in the 4 corners of a ritual circle to represent the presence of the 4 classical elements, earth, air, fire, and water. When used in this manner, lighting and extinguishing the candle marks the opening and closing of a ritual. The candle is also frequently used for magical, meditative purposes. Altar candles are traditionally thick, tall candles or long tapers, which are available in many colors. The candles that are used come in a variety of colors, depending on the nature of the ritual or custom at hand.
Yeah, different traditions
will
have a set color of candles they like to use on the altar.
Because we, when we were part of that other group.
It was
black,
silver, and gold.
Black, silver, and gold.
Those, it was very cool looking.
Yeah.
I love the color scheme. But those silver and gold chime candles, my God, they're so expensive.
Because we're not talking like a color that's gray and calling it. We mean it's metallic looking,
shiny
silver and shiny gold.
Yeah,
yeah, those were harder to find. Now with what we do with Coven of the Wild Wood, we really just have one candle to represent the source of all magic and all energy. And
if we're feeling crazy, we'll light 2 illuminator candles.
Well, not illuminators.
And those come from the Dollar General.
yeah, they're the great big thick pillar candles. You know, when I do my altar at the house, I have my 2 illuminators, and then I have my black candle to represent energy and the source.
Yeah,
and then there'll be a candle lit for fire.
Oh, yeah, for the element, yeah.
And that's it.
That's also Dollar Tree.
But what's
red candles?
What's funny is because the candle that I'm using right now that I thought was black in a certain light is a real dark purple.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I like that too. So, we could either use purple or black for ours, and it would be okay.
Hey. We usually end up using whatever we've got in our box of witch stuff.
Yeah. Some people use red, green, blue, yellow, or white, purple candles to represent the elements. Using candles in magic is known as sympathetic magic, in that it is believed that the candle represents the outcome the person is wanting. It's a like attracts like form of magical practice. For example, if a person is looking for a job or needs extra income, a green candle would be used. For romance, a red candle would be used. This is an additional benefit that the smoke from the candles will take the prayer requests, desires, wishes, magic, whatever, upward to the gods or wherever you think it goes.
Yeah.
So that's where fire and candles are important to paganism. Like pagans, fire and candles play an important role in Christianity as well. In general, the ceremonial use of lights in the Roman Catholic Church is conveyed as a dramatic representation in fire of the life that Christ and of the whole scheme of salvation. On Easter Eve, new fire is made with flint and steel and blessed. From this, 3 candles are lit, and from these, a large white candle which will be used throughout the year on special occasions such as baptisms and funerals, is lit. This is a symbol of the risen and victorious Christ and burns at every solemn service until Ascension Day, when it is extinguished and removed after the reading of Gospel at High Mass. This, of course, symbolizes the Ascension, but meanwhile, the other lamps in the church have received their light from this candle, and so symbolize throughout the year the continued presence of the light of Christ. Now, the candle that they're talking about, if you've ever seen one of those in a Catholic church, it's fucking huge.
I've only ever been to Mass one time, and that was so long ago. My husband keeps trying to get me to go on New Year's Eve or whatever it is.
Christmas or...
Yeah, and it's never worked out. I either have a kid that I don't want to drag out for midnight mass, or...
Has he ever went by himself?
No, he won't go without me. Hey, he needs me.
Yeah. But the candle that they're talking about, it's usually pretty, and I think that the tallness of it or the size of it would depend on the congregation. For example, a church with in New York that has a lot of parishioners, their candle that they use throughout the year would be a lot bigger than one that says like maybe the Catholic Church in my hometown in Webster.
They have a Catholic Church in Webster?
They do. They do. They sure enough do. But that candle then is used throughout the year. And they would light it at, like I said, at baptisms, funerals, things like that. Even that, and of all of the religions, the Catholic Church has the most practices that are very pagan.
I agree.
In nature, things that they do.
Well, because if you think, they're the ones that kind of conformed and changed a little bit to attract the pagans to convert, because you didn't have any Protestant faiths back then.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you guys, we're gonna pretend that you doing all your pagan practices is just you just rejoicing in the love of Christ, and the pagans they were smart enough. They were like, okay.
Sure, as long as you won't flail me and light me on fire.
We'll start calling our gods Jesus. It's just his formal name. I don't know. So then you think, okay, so that obviously shows that candles and fire, can be important. Within the Christian faith. So at baptisms, lighted tapers are placed in the hands of the newly baptized or their godparents. Like if it's a little baby that's being baptized, the candle would be held by the godparents. But it's with the condemnation to preserve their baptism untouched, so that they may meet the Lord when he comes to their wedding. So basically at the baptism, if you're an older person being baptized, you're holding a candle in each hand. But if you're younger, then your godparents will hold it. And basically the preacher stands up there and condemns, it's part of the ritual that they condemn, be like, you must remain pure and you must blah, 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 blah until your wedding day and blah, 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 so.
Oh my God, I have to get another picture. She's sleeping so hard on you that she keeps melting. Her head is rolling over.
That's funny.
Her arms hanging off of you. Here, look at this. My dog has turned to mush on her lap.
Candidates for ordination.
For being ordained?
Yes. And novices about to take the vows carry lights, candles. When they come before the bishop, and the same idea underlines the custom of carrying lights at weddings and at First Communion, and by priests going to their first Mass. And you'll even see that like on television when you see, when you're taking your First Communion, that's a real big thing. And you'll see those little kids walking, carrying candles, walking up, to take their first communion.
Do you know my husband was an altar boy?
Oh, Jesus.
Maybe that's what's wrong with him.
Maybe.
He's rotten.
Finally, the lights are placed around the bodies of the dead and carried beside them to the grave. That's another way they use candles. Candles are placed around the bodies of the dead and carried beside them to the grave, partly as symbols that they still live in the light of Christ, and partly to frighten away the powers of darkness.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Candles are lit by worshipers in front of icons in Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Eastern Catholic, and other churches. This is referred to as an offering candle. Sounds kind of fucking familiar. Because the candle is a symbol of the worshiper offering himself or herself to God. Among the Eastern Orthodox, there are times when the entire congregation stands holding lit tapers, such as during the reading of the Gospel on Good Friday, and the Lamentations on Holy Saturday.
Can you imagine how stressed out the priest must be while everybody's holding fire? He's probably so scared somebody's going to light somebody on fire or the place is going to burn down.
Because the vestments that they wear, like the Catholic priests wear, are those big billowy, choir-looking robe things. Yeah. In Sweden and Sweden, your son was in Sweden
for a long time.
For a long time, he really liked it over there.
Living it up.
Yeah. In Sweden.
Sweden.
Jesus Christ. In Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, Saint Lucia Day is celebrated on December 13th with the crowning of a young girl with a wreath of candles. In many Western cultures, a group of candles arranged in a ring, known as the Advent wreath, are used in church services in the Sundays leading up to Christmas. In households in some Western European countries, a single candle marked with the days of December is gradually burned down day by day to mark the passing of the days of Advent. This is called an Advent candle.
Kind of like when people use the Advent calendars?
Yeah.
Leading up to Christmas?
Yeah, so they would have candles. And if you think about like the whole Advent candle thing, is she going to slide?
No, she was starting to hack.
You think about like the Advent candle, like where they burn down a little bit each day. Think about the spells we do that's like a 7-day candle spell where you burn so much of the candle.
Now, when Jewish people do the menorah, do they, each day that they put a candle in, do they let it burn all the way out?
I'm not Jewish. I don't know.
Because I don't know.
I don't know why you thought I would know what Jewish customs are, but...
I don't know. You did the research.
Well, I didn't do Jewish. I don't know. Even Hanukkah, like Hanukkah candles are lit. You know, so fire and candles is when you look at different Christian type, Christian-y.
Well, is this the time where I can put in what I found out?
Sure.
It's not going to ruin anything you're about to read?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Catholics, when they go in and pray for someone, they will light a candle. And the candle is supposed to represent the prayer for that person.
Yeah.
And then the flame and the smoke are supposed to be a representation of their thoughts and prayers going up to heaven, kind of like we do with our candle magic all the time.
Yeah.
See, I remembered.
Yeah. And that's because that's when we do magic, that's it.
Yeah.
That's we're like, we'll hold the candle in our hand and
I'll talk to my candle.
Yeah, you're like, you know, candle.
I'm like, you're gonna do this.
You're gonna do a good job. But we'll hold the candle in our hand and set the intention of what the candle is for, what it's going to do and create. And then, we light it as we say our spell. Then we light the spell paper off of the candle flame. And then we let it burn out. And so basically Catholics are doing that with when you see them, go light a candle for someone or something. Another thing that we do, and this podcast may be not as long because I couldn't find as much, but another thing that a lot of pagans use that you will also find in Christianity is the use of incense.
Yes.
Incense is often used in pagan rituals to represent the element of air, although more modern approaches to incense magic demonstrate that incense actually represents all of the elements. This is attributed to the fact that incense smoke wafts through the air, is created through the use of fire. The incense materials are grown from the earth, and combustible incense is formed using water. So they're saying that, like, in that incense stick, you're getting all 4 of the elements. So, if you wanted, that would be like, especially if you had to have like a traveling altar.
Yeah.
You could just keep a couple sticks of incense in your car and be able to,
You can do like Ace and just light a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've talked about that in the podcast before.
Yeah. Not that I'm recommending smoking.
No.
You can light a blunt.
It'll just smell like burning waffles.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
You're still angry.
I am. It is also believed to release natural energy. Incense comes in a wide range of fragrances that can also be used in the spell or ritual for different purposes.
I use incense because, when stuff makes you happy and lifts your mood, it raises your vibrations. Mm-hmm. And so I'm burning incense all the time just because I enjoy it and it makes me feel good. So
yeah, if
something makes me feel good, I'm going to use it, especially if something that simple.
Yeah, to
raise my vibrations.
See, because you talk about like the smell, mm-hmm. And I always would have like those automatic sprayers with like good smelling, but I can't smell anymore. Like, I still have them spraying in my house because I want other people to smell my house smelling good, but...
Plus, having incense going looks kind of mystically.
Yeah, or they think you're smoking pot.
Oh, I wanted to tell you something. You know how I have to hide any, like, altar anything or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I've decided my entire house is my altar now.
Okay.
Like, I'm just going to put random stuff all throughout the house.
Yeah.
And people will never know they're walking into a giant altar.
Because when it's all kind of like centralized to one location, they start adding the pieces together.
Yes.
But if it's just scattered throughout the house.
Because have you ever noticed how altar-like my entire den is?
Yeah.
Like, there's crystals everywhere.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway, my house is now my altar.
There we go. Although many pagan traditions associate specific botanical materials with certain magical attributes, those definitions vary widely from one Jesus fucking Christ, from one tradition to another. Generally speaking, neo-pagans and Wiccans use incense for two basic purposes in modern rituals. First, the incense is believed to create a magical atmosphere that is appropriate for the invocation or inviting of deities and spirits, and often, present around the pagan altar. Second, burning the incense is believed to release large amounts of energy stored within natural incense so that it can be used for magical purposes. So that's pagans and what we do with it.
Are you getting ready to go on to
the others?
Okay, I'll shut up.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin it.
The first recorded use of incense was by the Egyptians during the 5th dynasty. Incense use in religious ritual was either further or simultaneously developed in China and eventually transmitted to Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines. Incense holds an invaluable role in East Asian Buddhist ceremonies and rites, as well as in those of Chinese Taoist and Japanese Shinto.
I think it's Taoist.
Is it Taoist?
Yeah.
And Japanese Shinto shrines for their deities. It is reputed to be a method of purifying the surroundings, bringing forth an assembly of Buddhas, gods, demons, and the like. Okay. Christianity also uses incense in their practices. A thurible is a metal censer suspended from chains in which incense is burned during worship services. Now, this is like...
We're talking Catholic.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically... But it says it's used in Christian churches, including the Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, as well as in some Lutheran, Old Catholic, United Methodist, and Presbyterian.
What's that one that Anita Blake goes to?
I don't remember.
Because I think it's close to Catholic, but it's not Catholic. Episcopalian?
I don't remember. It's been such a long time since I read those books. I don't remember what religion she is.
Episcopalian, former Catholic.
The thurible is employed in various spiritual or ceremonial traditions, including Freemasonry. Burning charcoal is placed inside the metal censer, either directly into the bowl section or into a removable crucible, if supplied. And incense, of which there are many different varieties, is placed upon the charcoal, where it melts to produce a sweet-smelling smoke. This may be done several times during the service, as the incense burns quite quickly. The smoke of burning incense is interpreted by both the Western Catholic and Eastern Christian churches as a symbol of the prayer of the faithful rising to heaven. In the Bible, it says, "Let my prayer be directed as incense in thy sight, the lifting up of my hands as evening sacrifice." Incense is often used as a part of a purification ritual. In the Latin rite of the Roman Catholic Church, whenever the thurible is swung, wait a minute, I lost my place.
I'm just wondering if they can hear her breathing.
I don't know.
On your lap.
Whenever the thurible is swung to incense people or objects, it is always done in groups of 3 swings.
Imagine that.
Yeah, to represent the 3 persons of the Holy Trinity.
Oh, you don't say.
Yes, God the Father, God the Son, God the Father, God, and the Son, Jesus Christ, and God the Holy Spirit.
So Jesus, God, and the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
There you go.
The precise number depends on the level of sanctity of the object being revered, and if the person being revered is alive or dead, and whether they are a cleric or a lay person, and if a cleric, what their rank within the hierarchy is.
I'd like to be a lay person today.
Right. So, and that was funny because yesterday when you were, when we were talking about this kind of stuff, you had found about the whole 3 thing.
Yeah.
Like where they now I tried to find anything that says which way they would, because it would be icing.
I've only just seen it go back and forth.
Yeah. It would be icing on the cake if we found out that it was like a clockwise,
yeah.
3 times in a circle. But it's just 3 times because that's a magical number.
Yeah, it is.
To pagans.
Even Tesla had said that if people would pay attention to the number 3, that they would understand the entire universe. Or something of that nature.
Yeah, you're like, I'm paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing, people.
But
we're both tired.
In the Revelation of John, incense symbolizes the prayers of the saints in heaven. The golden bowl full of incense...
I've got a golden bowl.
Jesus Christ. Are the prayers of the saints which infuse upwards toward the altar of God. So incense is something else that they use, that we heavily use. This is going to be a short podcast, but I'm okay with that.
I'm over here thinking about dick.
Yeah.
Hey, you're talking about Catholicism.
Yeah.
Dick kind of goes hand in hand with it, doesn't it?
Someone talk about incense, and because it's talk about incense, but kind of the smoke really is what the Christians are using. I did a whole hand motion just now. When I first moved in that house over at Mount Hope, someone stole
my sage stick
your sage
bundle thing.
Yeah.
And that thing was almost new. Like, it was a big one.
Oh, yeah. It was like at least, 3 or 4 inches around?
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, it was massive.
Somebody stole it.
And that just goes...
It had a lighter with it?
Yeah, they stole the lighter and...
The sage.
They
were probably going to smoke it.
Because we had went through my house, and we had saged the house, and it was still hot. I had no furniture or anything left in the house. So you put it outside on my steps.
Yeah, we didn't want to burn the house down.
And then we went through the house with incense to replace, the void that we just created by clearing it out. And then we were like, I guess that's when it was stolen, was when we were taking the incense through.
Yeah.
Because then we went outside and we walked the perimeter of the house with salt.
Yeah.
And then you were getting ready to go and you were like, where's my sage?
Yeah.
And at first we thought, well, maybe an animal or something scurried off with it, but not the lighter and the sage.
I just don't know why anybody would steal that.
And I moved in there in January. So some fucking crackhead was out there in the cold. Yeah. And was like, hey, let me, that foretold everything.
It did.
That I was going to experience with that. Now, don't get me wrong. I like my house.
I know.
My house, it has a good vibe to it. It's just where it's at.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking today, if they would just close down that end of Lincoln Street that my house is on.
I was just thinking that they need to close down that little middle road right there.
Yeah. And then that could just be my driveway. I'll park right in the middle of the goddamn road.
Yeah.
And I won't have to be, going mudding every time I need in and out of my goddamn yard.
Do you want me to sneak down there and, blow up
the end of your street? It already was once. It's all dug up down there. Do you not notice? Down toward the Dubois Museum.
Is it?
It's all dug up. There's holes in everything. Like the water main had busted. Remember, I was taking a shower and I ran out of water and I called. I was like, I've paid my bill. I don't know why you turned off my water. And she's like, well, maybe it's just something wrong with your hot water heater. I said, that doesn't make any sense. I have no water.
Every time you talk to them, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I said, I would understand if, like, I had nothing but cold water. Yeah. I would say it was my hot water heater, but I have 0 water. And I've paid it. So, and she's like, oh, yeah. She called back and she's like, yeah, there's been a water main break down at the end of the street, and you're the only one that gets water from that right now. So that's why no one else reported it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every time you talk to her, it's something stupid.
Anyway, I don't know.
It's like Ken trying to deal with our sewer people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They hate him, by the way.
I mean, I will say this, because Mount Hope is a municipality.
I thought you were going to say manipulative.
No, God, now I can't say it. I said it the first time.
Municipality.
Yes. So our water, sewage, it's all provided by the city of Mount Hope itself. We don't have American water or whatever that's called, West Virginia American Water, whatever. But they really do, they really try to keep Mount Hope clean, and like all of the vacant lots are mowed, and, they do their best to make it look nice. They can't help it that it's a bunch of crackheads that live there, So the next thing that we'll talk about is tithing and offerings.
I'm not going to say anything until you read what you've got, because I don't want to ruin what you...
Okay. Because you look like you wanted to say something, or you were constipated. I wasn't sure which.
I wanted to say something.
Okay. A tithe is 1/10 of your income that is to be paid as a contribution to the church.
Nope.
Some churches have a mandatory tithe, while others ask that you give what you can. Now, because we're talking about because the Catholic Church is real big on tithing.
So are Baptists.
And so are Baptists. And, I know of this one person that was tithing, and she got dementia. And she offered to tithe a lot more than 10%. And they didn't, the church wasn't like, you know what, you have dementia, maybe we should talk to your family and make sure that this is something that should be happening. And a lot of money was going to the Catholic Church.
Was that in your town?
Yeah. Yeah. Won't give names or anything, but yep.
Were you related?
No. The payment of tithes was no novel practice, having been performed for centuries by both biblical figures and pagans alike. Now, because, some people, like I know the church that I went to when I was younger, the Baptist church, the collection plate just came around. And
I'd always just pass it right on to the next person.
And you would put in what you can. And, but other churches, say, no, when you fill out because there's the one church in Webster, that you have to fill out an application. You can go and attend services, but if you want to be a member of the church, you have to fill out paperwork and everything, and you tell how much your income is, and they say how much you have to pay them a month. And you can set that up to be
that's like a paid membership.
Yeah, you can set it up to where you pay it every other week or once a month or whatever. And they expect those dues, to keep the church going.
My dad and his wife give a 10th.
Yeah. See, and that's just... I have a problem with any God that would be like, you know what, you need to give me 1/10 of what you have and worry about how to make ends meet later.
I think, honestly, if they were upfront about it, being like, look, this is how much the power bill is and what's due. This is what the church's water bill is.
Yeah.
I think they need to tell the congregation what the actual bills are.
Yeah.
And then say, this is how much we need to keep the church going for another month.
Yeah.
I don't think I would look at it as...
I wonder if you can go up to like the church treasurer and be like, how much is in? Like just an ordinary parishioner, go up and be like, how much do we have in the church budget right now? If they would tell you.
I doubt it.
See, that I don't think that's okay either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they'd be like, okay, like I'm your boss. For now.
I was just going to say, not for long.
Not for long. But like I have no, like you can call me and you can say how much is in the business account, and I'll tell you what's in it, because you get paid out of that. Like, so, and this is a fucking business.
Well, don't you even have me on the business account?
Yeah,
that's funny.
So I don't get it. Like I don't get why it's so secretive, and that's why you see some of these churches. If like, especially these great big churches that are like millions and millions of dollars, like I want to know where it's all going. I want to know what it's being used for, but anyway, have you ever noticed that, like,
well, I will say, a lot of preachers don't have other jobs.
Yeah.
And the church does support them.
Yeah.
Like that, they get a payday. Which I get. That's their job.
Yeah. A lot of times, like Catholic churches, they're having to support the priests and everything. But there's other denominations that, like, you'll see, like, there's a little cottage beside the church.
The parsonage.
Yeah. But, like, when those collection plates go around, because I've seen them, like, be baskets. But the traditional was, like, just a metal plate. They started putting velvet in the bottom of those plates so that people wouldn't be embarrassed when they had to drop change into it. Mm-hmm. And no one would hear that someone was dropping change.
I always just plunked my change in there.
You were like, boom! Slam dunk. Because I remember, like, when LaVonna and I, my older sister and I would go to church, we would walk down to the church when we were younger, and, Mom would always try to scrape up some money for us to take and put into the dish. And we grew up stupid poor. I mean, stupid fucking poor. At one point, my dad was making $3.25 an hour. Mm-hmm. Poor, I
don't think that was legal.
Well, he was working, like, for his best friend. They were logging and, but, and, they had 6 kids to take care of. And then to try to scrape up a couple dollars every week to send, I just think that's shameful. Mm-hmm. I think it's shameful, But anyway, it was well attested that the tithe was present in the tithe.
We're going downhill so fast.
Was present in the very earliest of cultures: Roman, Greek, Sicilian, Chinese, Babylonian, and Egyptian, stretching back to the earliest written records of the human race. Now, tithing can be loosely related to the offering/sacrifices that many pagan cultures practiced in the past. The tradition of giving offerings to the gods and ancestors dates back to prehistoric times. We see this practice in ancient holy texts, as well as through archaeology, cave paintings, etc. Our ancestors thought giving offerings to the gods and goddesses would gain their favor. It makes sense that as the church took over, they changed this offering to the gods to an offering for their one God. And as times...
Raw?
Raw? To their one God, Jesus.
Oh.
The Christian God. As times changed and needs were met through more through money than harvest and or hunting, things that were once offered to the gods, such as food, drink, and even animal and human sacrifices, changed to a money offering instead. Add to the fact that Christianity needed a bankroll to secure their power.
Oh, get down. Get down.
She's like, no, I want to vomit on her. So, the church needed a bankroll to secure their power. Many kings were blackmailed with riches by the church so that their agenda would be met.
Oh my God, the church had control of Europe. The
Yeah.
Catholic Church did. Kings and queens wouldn't dare do anything without approval of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Because the Catholic Church, they funded their own army. They had their own army, for Christ's sake.
And tithing allowed for that.
Yeah.
Because like I was saying, you take from you go from being a culture of people that says, we're going to sacrifice this animal, we're going to sacrifice a human, we're going to give you a portion of our crop, that kind of stuff. It was no longer as important as that money and as riches, became.
They wanted power.
Yeah. So then it was like, okay, now you need to do an offering. And especially when you think about how the church, was like, okay, we're going to continue to allow you to practice your pagan beliefs, but you need to call it Christianity. Mm-hmm. They're still going to want to sacrifice. They're still going to want to offer things to their God. Mm-hmm. But now the church is like, well, you can't kill things. That's not godly. That's not Christianly.
Not since Jesus died on the cross.
Yeah.
Because that's what that was supposed to be for.
Yeah. So now you need to give us money instead. There is a loose connection between tithing, which is what the Christians do, and then the offerings that we do. Because
like you and I, we'll take a piece of bread with honey on it.
Yeah.
And put it outside after a ritual or something.
We've put snack cakes outside.
We have.
We've put fudge.
Cut up a
donut. We've done fudge rounds. Yeah. Fun size Snicker bars that one time.
Yeah.
Asen's
probably dying as he hears this. He's like, wow.
Beef jerky.
Yes.
My
daughter kept eating it all.
The offspring loved. I don't think she had beef jerky before that moment.
She hadn't.
And then we had used beef jerky as part of the offering. Because what we do when we do that, we take a little bite. Everyone takes a little bite, and then whatever's left over is given, back.
She took her bite. She's like, wait a minute.
She's like, hey.
Yeah.
We've used Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
As the drink in ritual before. Yeah. Pineapple juice.
Yeah.
Orange juice.
Yeah.
So,
sweet tea.
Yeah, sweet tea, whatever we've had. What's that? The Crystal Light. The
drink mixes.
Drink mix. Yes. We've used a little bit of everything. So, in pagans, we still do that today. We still do, the offerings and everything. So,
we don't normally follow all the holidays and stuff, but once in a while we'll go all out, cast a circle, and do everything. And it feels really good to do it.
Yeah, it does. Remember I made, that for Lunasa?
That bread man with the dick and balls?
Yes.
Yes.
That was great.
And we were eating pieces of him.
Yeah, no one because the offspring was there. No one would eat you wouldn't eat the penis.
I don't want any more kids.
The offspring wouldn't eat the penis. I was like, I'll eat the penis, and then so I ate it. But I made him. I just went and got a couple rolls of crescent dough, crescent roll dough, and just slapped it down on a cookie sheet in the form of a man.
He had horns.
Yeah, and we took what was left of him and put him outside. Offered him up. So you could get creative with your offerings. You don't have to be a stuffy Christian and just money makes the world go round. No, sometimes a penis made out of bread does.
I'd take any kind of penis right now.
I'm telling you, I'm. If I was a man, I'd be worried. So the last thing we're going to talk about that I was surprised to find in connection was communion. Mm-hmm. The communion goes way back into history and is based upon the ritual consumption of God. Osiris, I always say this one wrong. Is it Dionysus? Dionysus, Attis, and many other were ritually consumed. The practice dates back to prehistory
I thought you were going to say prehistoric.
No, prehistory, when a human sacrifice was identified as the god, usually some type of nature god, and was sacrificed and eaten.
Whoa.
Cannibalism 101.
Wow.
Okay, so there's it's a myth. Have you heard the myth that if you eat enough human flesh, you'll go crazy?
No.
There's a myth that says that, like, there's a certain chemical whatever in human flesh that if you eat enough of it, it builds up in your system, and you end up going crazy. And that's not true.
Why have you heard that?
Well, just like I knew today that a killer who takes the eyeballs out of their victim is called an enucleator.
That's not normal.
There's just things that I know.
You spend too much time alone, and you should not be allowed to make your own television choices.
What they think that, like, because people, it's been shown that people who eat human flesh are crazy. I don't think that they go crazy from eating it.
Right.
I think that they're crazy because they ate it because they're crazy.
Yeah.
But I imagine if you were not crazy before, that it's just the psychological effect of eating another human is probably what fucked your mind up.
Unless you're Jeffrey Dahmer and you just like it.
He's like, I like it with a little bit of hot sauce. Over the ages, human sacrifice was found detestable. Animals were then substituted and sacrificed as the ritual identifier of the god, which was then followed by grain offerings, bread shaped into the form of the god, sometimes in the shapes of other natural items such as the sun or the moon. The sacrifice of the god was a well-known and well-loved feature as well. In fact, it was necessary to have a willing sacrifice before communion could be performed. Because Jesus willingly allowed himself to be sacrificed. When the sacrifice was not willing, the legs and sometimes arms of the sacrifice were broken to make it look like the sacrifice was willing, so that they wouldn't struggle against their sacrificers. Bread and wine are symbols of sacrifice and blood, so that's why, like, when you see, like, communion and, like, with Christians, it's always the wafer and the wine.
We always had, when I was in church.
You started laughing.
Sometimes they'd be broke, so they'd have, like, oyster crackers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or little teeny tiny, like, barely a crumb. It's like somebody stood in the back and cut them up in pieces.
Someone like cut saltine crackers into fours.
Yeah. But my husband said that when he was in church, that they had communion every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
But you went to the same type of church I did. It was once a month.
I don't remember ours even being once a month. Like, I have very few memories. Maybe I missed it every month. I don't know. But
you weren't allowed to take communion unless you were saved.
In my church, I think they let everyone do it because I've never been baptized.
They broke the rules.
But I remember it because it's like just the nastiest grape juice I've ever had in my life, and the most flavorless, dry rice paper like cracker I've ever had. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But by consuming those symbols, the bread and wine, by consuming the symbols of God, people felt that they would be able to be a part of the God that they worshipped. Another prominent pagan religion that was at the height of its popularity around the same time as Jesus was the cult of Mithras.
Never heard that one.
Mithras.
The cult of meth.
Mithras actually shares many attributes with Jesus, including a Last Supper just before Mithras ascended to heaven. Initiates of the Mithras cult partook of a sacred meal in honor of Mithras that included both bread and wine, which were believed to be the flesh and blood of the great bull that was slain by Mithras. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1955 helped shed some light on early Christianity, as the manuscripts included documents that predate the formation of Christianity. According to one of the most prominent scholars in charge of translating the scrolls, Christianity was really based on ancient fertility rites from the Near East that revolve around the ingestion of psychoactive mushrooms.
Nice. So they were stoned.
Yeah. There's a book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, which contends that the Christian Last Supper and communion are metaphors for these older practices. Interestingly enough, hallucinogenic mushrooms were ingested in massive quantities by the Aztec peoples, who called them, oh God, Teonetical, which translates into flesh of the gods. Like the intoxicating wine of, what do you say his name was? Dionysus. That induces an ecstatic state of union with the divine. These mushrooms were used in rituals of fertility.
Hey, at least those people, I don't remember which group it was in South America, but they would constantly be going and capturing people like their enemies and shit to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because you know they were constantly sacrificing people, ripping their hearts out and shit.
Yeah.
They would drug them first. They would give them this drink.
Yeah.
It's kind of like giving them a bunch of Valium.
Well, that probably comes back to what I said. What it said in there about like that it needed the person to be willing.
Yeah. So at least when their heart was ripped out, they were happy about it.
Yeah. And I would much rather be drugged than have my legs and arms broken.
I didn't like how they would just be like, oh, see that family over there? I think we need to sacrifice that child. They would take people's children and sacrifice them.
Yeah, it reminds me of...
What? Something in Webster?
No. You're like, it wouldn't surprise me if there was ritualistic human sacrificing going on in Webster County. No, the movie The Beastmaster.
Yes!
There was that scene where they were going to sacrifice the kid.
Yes.
And I was like, save him, Ferrets, save him.
I loved that show.
I loved Beastmaster.
You know the chick with the red hair?
Yeah.
She ended up, you remember that 70s show?
Yeah.
She's the one that played Donna's mom.
Oh, really?
The dingbat.
Yeah.
That was her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I loved Beastmaster with his little ferrets. Ferreting around.
They were ferreting around.
Yeah. And you know, props to whoever come up with that idea for using ferrets. Like, of all the animals that the Beastmaster could have just running around with him, he could have had fucking lions, tigers, honey badgers, like anything. Tasmanian devils, but they're like, you know what this motherfucker needs? Ferrets.
Hey, you want to hear something funny? This morning, taking my kid to school, they just dissected frogs in class, and she was telling me how that she and her friend pulled the intestines out and all this crap. She's like, guess what? And I'm like, what? She goes, our teacher said if she's able to get them, we're going to get to dissect ferret pigs. I'm like, what the fuck is a ferret pig?
A ferret pig?
Yeah. She goes, maybe she said fairy pig. I'm like, what?
That's even worse.
I'm like, what?
Feral, maybe it was feral
she
pigs.
Said it was supposed to be something that means tiny pig. I'm like, a baby pig?
Fetus pigs?
That's really gross.
Maybe pig fetuses?
Ugh. But so she said they were dissecting the frog. And my daughter's just digging in.
Oh, yeah. She's just like...
grabbing organs.
She's like, here's a spleen.
There's skin flying everywhere. And her boyfriend is over there gagging. Because he was on her team for the dissection.
I dissected a frog in school and then a cow's eyeball.
I did a starfish, a perch, a frog, and a worm. And then my teacher was like, you dissected the wrong side of the worm. I'm like, how the fuck am I? It doesn't even have sides. It's round.
It's a worm.
But I did. Somehow, my worm looked different from everybody else's because I was on the wrong part of the circular shape of the worm. I don't know what I did.
That's funny. So you were supposed to be cutting, because I would assume, into the underbelly of the worm.
Yeah. And
you were cutting through
its back.
Its back.
Yeah.
You know, if it had a spine, you would have known. I can understand. I can understand why you didn't catch on sooner.
I didn't know. I had it all pinned apart.
Yeah.
Skin pulled back. And he comes walking by and he's just like, really? Really? I'm like, what? How was I supposed to know? He should have, like, put an identifying mark.
Yeah.
Or
be like, you gotta look for your worm's anus.
I'm like, it's a fucking worm.
Yeah, I won't make fun of you, because I can understand. Without a spine to let you know which side of the body you're on.
Well, and then when we were, I always sat up front, in front of the teachers. Because when I sat with my friends, I'd get distracted and act stupid. And I wanted good grades. So I would always sit up front by the desk. So I'm sitting there with my perch and my scalpel. And I was trying to pop out its eyeball. And when I popped out the eyeball, it popped out of the fish and hit my teacher in the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. He wasn't happy, but it was pretty funny.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And he was stuck in the 70s. He wore this long gold chain with a big ass medallion on it.
If you're ever needing to remove the heart from a person.
Oh, here we go, people.
Don't try to go through the chest, because it would be hard to get to.
You think?
You need to go through the stomach and go up under the rib cage and take the heart out that way.
Sure.
You know who taught me that?
Who?
Anita Blake.
Oh, yeah.
The book that you love, that I introduced you to.
I hope the next one is available on Audible soon.
Isn't it? Did you?
I pre-ordered it.
You pre-ordered? Did you go check your Audible and refresh? What day did it say?
I don't remember.
I didn't think it was till May anyway.
I was hoping they would send me a notification.
I don't know if they do or not.
Because I like it. I'm in the shower. And I blast those things on my Echo.
Yeah.
And it's funny, whenever I get out of the shower, literally every person that was home while I was in the shower walks up to me and goes, what the fuck are you listening to?
You'd be like, it's Jean-Claude. Ma petite.
She's a necromancer.
Mm-hmm.
Having sex with a vampire.
She's a U.S. Marshal.
Yeah, and she has sex with a shape-shifting werewolf.
Yep.
And she's the lupa of a shapeshifter pack.
Yep.
And the leader of a were-leopard pack.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's a jack of all trades. She really is. So that's it. That was the end of the 3-part series on shit that Christianity stole.
Can we put my sanity in there?
Yeah. I'm sure they've stolen more. I know they stole a good portion of my childhood.
Yes.
Actually, I think your childhood. If we're going to measure Christianity, if we're going to flop like men flop their
Christian off.
Yeah, if we're like how men flop their dicks out, if we're going to measure each other's childhood experiences with Christianity, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Every day of the week.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get away from it.
No, I can still tell you all the books of the Bible in order.
You were singing it yesterday. You were singing the books of the, like did they teach it to you in a song? Is that how you learned it?
Let me.
Because you were singing it.
Was I singing?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't want to get triggered.
But you're going to win, because you not only, both of your parents were like, church is important, church, Jesus loves you, all this stuff. Like, they didn't even put you in public school.
No.
You went to private Christian school.
I was in Christian school almost until I was in junior high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to go to youth group
Mm-hmm.
on top of the 3 church services. And I was in Awana.
Yeah.
And I had to go to Christian camp in the summer.
Yeah. So
Look, my eyes are getting big.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. So, but it really, that just made you a better pagan.
Yeah, it did.
Because you're like, okay, because I was indoctrined with this from an early age, like I can give you proof, or not proof, but at least backup.
I can have a good debate.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You really can.
Yeah.
So.
Man. I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. Just talking about that made me think I need a cigarette.
Yeah, I mean, we, like my parents, they never forced us to go to church. They never forced us. If we didn't want to go, we didn't have to go. My dad was not an overtly religious person. He never talked about religion. I know that he believed in God, but he never discussed it. He never went to church, nothing.
He's even quiet on the other side.
Yeah.
It's like he's around. I'll know he's around, but he never says much. It's like he's just like this overseer.
He was one of those dads, like the stereotypical dad, where he'd be watching television, and you'd be like, Dad, 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 Pop.
Like with my husband.
Yeah, Dad. And then he wouldn't even, like, when you would finally get his attention, and I think he knew you were the whole time. He was just hoping he could ignore, like a show off, like if you ignore her long enough. He wouldn't say what or nothing. He would just move his eyes. Like, he wouldn't move his head. His head would still be straight onto the TV, but he'd just move his eyes to wherever you were. And just look at you. And then you'd ask him whatever question it was. He'd be like, go ask your mother.
It's like, why are you even asking me?
So then I go to Mom, and I ask her, ask your dad. Yeah, it was horrible. It reminded me of that scene in that movie, Coal Miner's Daughter, with Loretta Lynn. Like, where he was trying to ask to, marry Loretta.
Yeah.
And each parent kept sending him back to the other parent. So they had to wait until the middle of the night when both parents were in bed. And he went into the room with both of the parents in bed and was like, I want to marry your daughter. That's kind of like what it was in my household. Now my mom, she's really religious. She doesn't go to church. Like she has anxiety issues, so she's not going to go to church. And then our church is kind of, the local church is, like, the local church has recently lost parishioners that have been in that church their entire life. Because of some of the new practices that they're doing and the bigotry that's happening.
Bigotry.
So she wouldn't go there anyway because they're douche wagons. But she reads her Bible every night. She reads 2 or 3 pages out of her Bible every night. She's read through the Bible I don't know how many times. She says a prayer every night. And when I say she says a prayer, like she has a structured prayer that she says every single night.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And then she'll add new people as she needs to. And then when that like, let's say that person, whatever she's praying for is solved, they then come off the list. And then a new person goes on.
Does she have a waiting list?
I don't know. She didn't have a waiting list. You go on there. And it could take her, like, for her to say her entire prayer, it could take her a good 10, 15 minutes to say her prayer.
Wow.
So she's religious, but they never forced it on us. We, when we lived in Craigsville, I was too young. I did not go to any church, but my older sister did. So when we moved to Bargoo, we would walk down to the church, and I think even Crystal went to church. I think the boys might have went to summer school or to like the summer camp, like the Bible camp.
I even had to go as a baby. They would just toss me in the church nursery.
Yeah.
So you're in there as a baby doing baby shit, but there's a speaker in the ceiling so that the babies can hear the preacher. Oh, God.
That's horrible.
Oh, God.
That's horrible.
That's why when I tell my parents, they're like, why don't you go to church? I'm like, there is nothing they can preach about that I haven't heard.
Like you're like, I'll tell you what, when Jesus actually comes back and he's doing his road tour and he comes to your church, I will come that day.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he'll set y'all straight.
Yeah.
On a bunch of shit that you've gotten wrong.
I even told my mom, I was like, Mom, you let me know when they come up with something new that I haven't heard.
Yeah.
And I'll go hear it.
Yeah.
But I've heard it all. Oh, gosh.
So I think we should end Christianity. No. end Christianity. I think we should end the Christianity podcast.
Don't say that in front of my daughter.
Right. She'll be like, yes! She'll be like on it.
She'll be like, call to arms.
I think we'll end the podcast there.
You said
we're going to end Christianity. You can find us on the website. It's featherandbone.net. There you'll find access to our lessons, our shop, and links to the Facebook group. All of that good fun stuff. So you can go check us out. Again, that's featherandbone.net. Remember, it's magic, motherfuckers.